we've got some news from the Supreme Court today, with the High Court again allowing the Trump administration to take away legal protections from some migrants. We want to bring in our Scripps News legal affairs correspondent, Ava Joy Burnett, live from our D.C. newsroom with more on what exactly the justices had to say today. So, Ava Joy, what does this mean for all of the non-citizens who've been living here in the U.S. on humanitarian parole?
Hey there, Steph. Well, this now means that people who've been living here in the United States with this humanitarian protection could be really vulnerable to being rapidly deported from the United States. We're talking about half a million people from places like Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, even Venezuela. And they have been living in the United States for about 2 years. They were able to come here, live and work here. And they mentioned that they were fleeing perhaps political violence in their countries, even persecution in their countries. But what the Trump administration did here, they asked the U.S. Supreme Court to put a pause on a lower court's decision that prevented the Department of Homeland Security from revoking that humanitarian protection. The U.S. Supreme Court granted that request for a pause. So this now means that the Department of Homeland Security has the ability to revoke that protection, and that now makes more than 500,000 people vulnerable to being deported from the United States. Of course, that is a large number. We don't know if that will actually happen in this time frame, but this is what this decision from the U.S. Supreme Court essentially means. We know that 2 liberal justices dissented here, Justice Sonia Sotomayor, along with Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, and she wrote the dissent. She reminded folks that these are people who went through rigorous vetting in order to be here in the United States. Some of them have settled down in the U.S. and they're working, living really good lives here, and have really become a part of U.S. society. She believes the U.S. Supreme Court botched this decision. That's the word that she used. And I want to show you a portion of what she wrote earlier today in the document that came down from the court. She said the court undervalues the devastating consequences of allowing the government to precipitously upend the lives and livelihoods of nearly 500,000 non-citizens while their legal claims are pending. Even if the government is likely to win on the merits, in our legal system, success takes time, and the state standards require more than anticipated victory. The White House, they are already reacting to this. They, of course, are calling this a win. They're also blaming the Biden administration for letting in who they believe are illegal people into the United States in the last 2 years of the Biden term. Here's what Stephen Miller had to say not too long ago from the White House.
Of course they have to be deported. You can't have a situation where the Biden administration can fly in 500,000 illegal aliens in the last 24 months, and we're having a conversation about, oh, maybe they should get to stay for life. They've been here for 24 months. They were flown into our country illegally, and the good news is the airplanes travel in 2 directions.
So just remember, everyone, that even though the U.S. Supreme Court has granted the Trump administration's request here, this particular case has been sent back down to a lower court. So a federal appeals court will continue to work this matter through the court system. But in the meantime, until we get a decision from that federal appeals court, the Department of Homeland Security has the ability to deport some of these people from the United States. Steph?
Certainly a case that we will continue to follow. Scripps News legal affairs correspondent Ava Joy Burnett, live for us in D.C. Thank you very much.